Good morning, all. I am on my way into DC, and I figured I would take you along for the ride because I do have some things on my mind that I thought might be an interesting topic for us to dive into this morning on this Wednesday morning. You have to forgive me, I've got my sunglasses on because it is very bright and I cannot be squinting because although black doesn't crack, white might, and I'm not taking any chances. Okay, we got something going on right here. Okay, so anyway, I'm heading into the city today. I am working on this food access, food insecurity project with DC Squared, which is a nonprofit organization that works on economic development in the city. And their focus, this particular organization, their focus is on Rhode Island Avenue corridor and Bladensburg Road corridor. So I'm working with them to help them establish and grow their farmers markets. And it's really fun because small businesses are something that I am passionate about, as well as food insecurity. So helping small businesses get into these markets and also increase food access is always a good thing. So anyway, that's what I'm heading in to do today. But while I'm going, I want to just chat a little bit about this whole idea of fighting food insecurity, poverty, outreach. A lot of you have reached out to me, and there's always these questions and comments about we've tried to do this, it hasn't worked yet, or we're not really sure how to maximize our impact, or we love what you're doing, help us understand how we can better meet the needs of the people. So I want to say first and foremost, there is one magic key, and it is called love. And I know that seems really obvious, and I know that that probably seems ridiculous for me to even mention it. But the truth of the matter is that where I have seen the greatest success is where I've seen a need, and I have looked to meet the need, and that has been my priority. Meeting the need has been the priority, not whether or not somebody is going to be respectful, not whether or not somebody is making the decisions that I think that they should be making to put themselves in a better situation. No, the priority has been to meet the need. And I think what keeps us locked up in these barriers sometimes is we have all of these preconceived ideas of why people are where they are. And we become so judgmental. I mean, like, honestly, it's a little bit ridiculous. I think that what we do is we figure that if we have made the decisions that we have made in our life and they have led us to this place and we are not living on the street or we are not in dire need, not being able to put food on the table, that if everybody else makes the same decisions, then there wouldn't be a problem. But the fact of the matter is that is just a bold-faced lie, and it's not the reality. So this is a very broad and deep subject, but I'm going to just touch on one little piece today, and I'm going to tell you a story, and we're going to call my friend Bridget. I'm changing the names for all intents of this conversation, okay? So it's not really Bridget. Well, I have a friend named Bridget, but that's not who I'm talking about. Okay, so Bridget was a little girl who was in an abusive home where her stepfather and her uncles were sexually abusing her, beating her mother, and she was fed up. So at age 11, she ran away from her home, and she ran into the arms of a friend and a friend's home where she was able to find safety. In that home was a drug dealer. That was her friend. A little bit older, but a drug dealer. That friend protected her, kept her safe, but also introduced her to PCP. 39 years, she has been surviving off of PCP and relationships that brought protection in one way or another to keep her from the traumatic childhood that she ran away from. PCP is not one of those things that you just kick, first of all. Second of all, in the midst of that and all of of those years with drug addiction, it messed with her mind. So now Bridget suffers from schizophrenia, drug addiction, and probably a whole plethora of additional issues, right? So now at this stage in her life, in her 50s, a good heart, like a great heart, but a lot of issues. And the way that she presents herself, the way that she sounds, the way that she looks is really not the most appealing to people in business, property managers, landlords, people at offices who have resources. So now she's in a position where she's not mentally stable. Addiction has ravaged her, and she tries, and she stays clean, and she stays sober for a period of time. She tries to get out of the neighborhood that she's in. But every time she goes to try to go to another neighborhood, she is met with people who judge her like judging a book by its cover. They lead her down on a wild goose chase, right? Saying, oh, sure, we've got housing available for you. We're going to hold it for you. All you need to do is go. Here's the link. Go ahead and fill out the application. Pay a $55 application fee, and then we'll follow up with you. Well, time after time after time, they never have the intention of following up with her. She has a voucher that is good for a specific period of time, but nobody is willing to actually give her a chance. So she spends all of her resources, $55 a pop every time she's applying for an application to move into someplace, and they never have the intention. They really don't think that she's even going to fill out the application because they don't think she has the money for it. And then they have no intention of bringing her in because they see that she talks funny, she's a little bit high-strung, she can be set off or triggered a little bit because she's not completely mentally stable. So then the voucher comes to an expiration, and she's stuck again having to go and trying to fight for this to be extended, for the expiration date to be overlooked, for something else to happen. And there's like, it's this never-ending cycle of always fighting for survival, always fighting so hard to try to get ahead. Even to the extent where when she's saying, listen, I am done, I don't want to go back, I'm on these streets, I'm met with somebody trying to offer me this, that, and the other all the time, and I just want to get out of here. I'll go to rehab, I'll do anything. So then I spend months trying to get her into a rehab that will deal with, number one, PCP, that will deal with somebody who is on medication for mental illness, and somebody who will take the coverage that she has. And you're met with closed door after closed door after closed door after closed door. And then you finally find a place that will take you in. It's not in your area. As a matter of fact, in this situation, we finally found a place in Baltimore, in the hood, and get her in there. But then everybody's attitude is so rough, is so tough, is so confrontational, is so like in your face, which is just another thing to trigger somebody who is scared, who is an addict, who suffers from mental illness, right? So you start fighting with somebody, well, I just told you take off your coat, or I just told you blah, blah, blah. And then everything becomes this like huge conflict, right? And there's like, it just seems like it's just too hard to find a way out. And so then you end up in this situation, kicked out on the streets in Baltimore, not knowing where to go. People aren't even respectful enough to give the person the number of the person who brought them there. So they're on the streets in Baltimore. They don't know where they are. They don't know how to get home. They don't have anybody's number. I mean, I could tell you story after story that sounds like this, and I'm probably not even doing it justice. I could tell you a whole lot more about it, but I'm trying to spare some of the details. My point is that everybody is carrying a story, and they're carrying these real life experiences, and it is really not as easy as you think to just get cleaned up and to get on your feet and start making better decisions and start doing different things and break out of the cycles. You know, I mean, people are in survival mode all the time, trying to do what they can just to survive, and it's hard enough just to survive. It's hard enough just to make sure that you can get food or have access to some sort of food, or that you can fight with the landlord over the rodent infestation, and your dorm doorknobs being broken off all the time and your door being busted in because people are robbing you because they know you aren't completely stable. Like, it's hard enough just to survive, let alone to take all of the steps needed to get you on the right track and the Lord willing, introduce you to somebody who can help you make those steps. But what I've learned is that a lot of times people really need an advocate. They really need somebody who can walk and hold their hand in order for this to happen. And if they don't have that, you can't just expect that their circumstances are going to change. I mean, and everybody's story isn't as drastic as that, right? But I just want to help you understand that whatever ideas you have concerning people and why people are so poor that they need food, or so poor that they need this, or in this kind of situation where they need government assistance, and like, every story is not the same. And to think that people are lazy and not willing to work or whatever, or just drug addicts. I mean, sometimes they are drug addicts, but guess what? They're drug addicts because they're trying to escape some traumatic, awful situation, or their environment just breeds that, and it's hard to stay above it. It's hard to walk to the beat of a different drum when all you're surrounded by is that kind of a lifestyle. And I mean, I don't know, I guess people have never been in any situation where they felt like they had to really like be bold and be strong to step outside of all of the pressure and all that people know. Like, I remember one time working with a family, and in a lot of situations, people in severe poverty never move outside of this little tiny mile radius, right? I don't even know what, I'm going to guess, but like, let's just say a 5-mile radius. That's probably generous in some situations. Because they don't have transportation. They only have access to whatever public transportation. Their world is right here. They don't have money to get them outside of that. They don't have vehicles necessarily. They have this, again, I don't know these real numbers, but I'm going to say a 5-mile radius. And they never move outside of that 5-mile radius. I know people in DC, a lot of people in poverty in DC, who have never even been to another quadrant of DC. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, DC is divided into 4 quadrants, so northeast, northwest, southeast, southwest. And many of them have never, if they're in northeast, they've never been to southwest, let alone Maryland, let alone, like, some of them have never even been down to the area of where the monuments are. Like, there's just, their world is very small. And if you don't know something different, if you don't know that there's another world out there, if you don't know that you don't have to hustle to have a clean shirt, like, there's this one little boy who just, I don't know, we clicked. And somebody said to me, well, you know, he's trying to hustle me. I'm like, yeah, because he doesn't know another way of living. He's out there hustling because he's got to be responsible for making sure he has a backpack. And this is the life that he lives. So they grow up learning how to, I get what I want, either by deceiving somebody, by stealing from somebody, or, you know, manipulating people. That's the way they know how to survive. They don't know that there's another way. They don't think that the option is there for them to make different choices that are going to lead them down a road where they can legitimately succeed. So, I don't know. It's my heart, and I'm going to say that that is why I have seen the success that I have in outreach. And it is by the grace of God. I'm not taking credit for it, but what I am saying is that the grace of God has put that thing inside of me that understands that there is a level of empathy and a level of compassion that is needed if you are going to be effective in outreach. Because you cannot just think that you are going to go and you are just going to tell everybody to do the same thing that you have done, or become another government representation to them. Like, if you have ever had to get government assistance, you should know. I mean, for heaven's sakes, have you ever gone to the DMV? Like, it's not easy. Okay, and if you're having to deal with those kind of things with people who are in jobs that they're tired of being in, that they have to deal with bad attitudes all day, so all they do is give it back, and then not everybody has the same information, so you call one representative and they tell you one thing, you go and do everything that they've told you to do, and then you go back and the next representative says, no, you don't have to do that. And then you've got a whole nother list of things that you've got to do. And you don't have the mental capacity to be able to handle it. And you've got to pay for transportation, and you don't have any money to pay for transportation. And then you've got to find childcare so that you can travel across the city to stand in line, pay your last few dollars to get on a bus or to do whatever you have to do, to stand in line to be told the wrong information again. At what point do you give up? Seriously. So, I mean, that's one of the things that I used to really stress with our volunteers when we were doing the food bank, is that if people are met with frustration and setbacks and hindrances all day long, what they don't need is when they come to get food, a basic human necessity. When they come to get food, they should not be met with any resistance. They should not have to provide you with anything additional to their name and, a signature for whatever reasons, right? Because food is a basic human need. And if they've got to fight all day long to do everything else, they shouldn't have to fight for food. And so whatever organization you're with, whatever program it is that you're looking to launch, the number one key to being able to be effective and impactful is to make the priority. And the priority is to meet the need. So whatever that need is, make sure that that is your absolute priority, and not everything else. Not just sitting there trying to tell people what to do, not trying to control the environment, not trying to be in charge, not trying to be powerful, not trying to say, well, you can't come in here if you're not going to be respectful, or whatever it is. I mean, I've had people come in and they were off the hook. I mean, off the hook, making threats, throwing fits, like demonstrative, like, on the verge of being violent because they're not in their right mind. And guess what? I'm not kicking them out. I'm just saying, get them what they need as fast as possible so that we can keep things moving. Because at the end of the day, if they need food, make sure that they have food. If they need water, make sure that they have water. If they just need some clothes, make sure that they have some clothes. If they need to speak to somebody, if they need prayer, make sure, whatever it is, I don't know. But make the number one thing the number one thing. And don't get distracted by everything else. And then also, make sure that you've got people supporting you and working with you who also understand what the priority is. Make sure that the message is really clear. And I believe that that will take you very far in meeting the needs of the people and then becoming the number one place that they want to go when they need something. And then it just opens the door for those of you who are ministries, churches. It opens the door for you to just share the love of Jesus in a way that completely makes sense and is effective, right? So that's it. That's all I wanted to share with you today. If you want to be impactful, if you want to increase your influence, prioritize the priority. Make sure that that is always at the forefront. And in most of these situations, it is